Welcome back, everybody. You are here with Jack and Ali on Saturday morning on IPL Radio. How are you all? Well, I mean, I'd love you to tell me. You can always call me on 0413636024. Get in touch. Get on our socials. I'd really love to hear from you. And let me know what you want to hear, what you like, what you don't like. I mean, if you like me and you don't like Jack, you can say that and that's fine, and I won't tell him.
I'll just leave.
Do it. Don't make empty threats.
Yeah.
You got to follow through with these things.
You can also email us, actually.
Yeah, you can do that.
info@iplradio.org.au.
I'm surprised that you're spruiking email. That seems like an old person thing to you.
Well, I usually do the number and you usually do the email. So
I want to keep you on your toes.
We just switched it up a bit.
All right. We are joined right now by Michael. G'day, Michael. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much for asking.
That's great. We are super interested in having you here because you are... Do you call yourself a youth worker?
Yeah. I was originally... I earned the title of youth worker back many years ago when I was in Scotland. So I was actively within the youth centres round about the tender age of 12 and started really kind of like stepping up and pre-organising everything by the age of 16 and was active in that space until about 22, 23.
Wow.
And then I've dipped my toes in and out of different various associations since then.
Right. So you never had a prior career. You haven't come to this later in life after seeing the enormous surge in youth issues, mental health issues particularly. You've always had this trajectory.
Always had the trajectory of noticing people and the way that they are and the way that they act. I was a very unusual child.
Don't worry,
people,
same.
Yeah, of course, who isn't? Who isn't?
Well,
and that
unique
was
and special,
exactly,
yes.
And that's the difference between me is that I embraced it, and I was a unicorn with glitter in my veins, and I couldn't care who was watching. Yeah. However, we have many people within our close associations that do not, unfortunately, just watch. They also vocalize in respect to putting you down and saying, no, don't do that. You'll be embarrassed. Or, why are you wearing that? People will speak about you. And, it kind of got to a point I could see this translate within the youth that I was growing up with, because when you're in kindergarten or within primary school, you're only concentrating on how to be the best biker mice for Mars or, like superhero that you can actually be, and just having no filter, just having an imagination and going wild. So I noticed that there was a slight change in that trajectory for most others that I was on the path with, bar me. So then I thought to myself, what's the difference? I don't know what the difference is. And it ended up driving me mad in my head to the point that I could not deal with reality anymore. Reality was just so confusing to me that I thought to myself, what's the point? What is actually going on here? So that led me down a trajectory of escaping from this reality and really kind of embracing another falsified reality. And that led me down a fantastic path that basically will always be a part of me, but it will never let it get in front of me again, because when I really then analytically looked at that portion of my life and how I traveled there and what was happening and what was getting done and the environment that I was in, I thought, no. This isn't the way the story is written. Why does it need to be written this way? And I got confidence again of picking up the pen and really writing my life again. And basically, not just within writing my life, which is living it, because many of us go through life existing or feeling like we're existing, right? So I go through it living it. And that's what I'm doing. And in turn, what I'm doing as well is solving a problem. We're all here to do something, yeah? And at the end of the day, I'm not here to save the world, but I'm here to sort out the people that are currently feeling alone and reaching out to them and to say that it's truly never a burden. And that's my company now. It's Never a Burden Pty Ltd. So the podcast and everything off to the side of it, which is effing depressing. I'm not allowed to say the swear word right now, but I'll give you a hint. Think about my accent and me saying that first word. Ingdepressing.com It's classic. And it's to shock people to basically say it is what it is. However, let's talk about the next part of it and make it a normalized conversation.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
It speaks to the openness that you want to encourage around the topic of, you mentioned earlier about you called it a pandemic of youth suicide.
Yeah.
It is all around the world. People are feeling lonely, and it's more common, as are a lot of mental health issues, a lot more common than people like to admit or feel they have the courage to admit to others around them.
100%. And just to mitigate that whole feeling right away, right? You are alone. You're alone. I'm alone. You're alone. You're alone. We just happen to be together right now, yeah? But truly, you have came into this world completely alone. Yeah?
Right, that old saying, you're born alone, die alone.
You're just, but yeah, that's it. So if people start to get that in their head, that they truly are alone, however, and this is the beautiful thing, is that they can congregate with others. They can actually get to a point of finding their tribe, finding their vibe, and really having an enjoyable life. But like you said, you come in and you go out, yeah?
Yep.
Too many of us think that being alone is a bad thing or there's something wrong with you in respect to being alone, but everybody is. So, yeah.
No, I mean, all negative emotions are informative. So, right, so being lonely can be helpful. Learning how to be alone with your own company, for a lot of people, that can be confronting.
Correct.
You don't like to. I think I'm prone to this myself. I will like to surround myself with people to quell the silence. And learning how to be comfortable in silence and with other people, just being you, is a very important lesson that, well, we're not taught. In fact, we're not taught a lot of things that could be very handy. Do you think that there should be some implementation in school curriculum, how to deal with, how to recognize first?
Well, I think the full school curriculum should be flung out the door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, completely. We're completely doing education wrong. We're completely doing agriculture wrong. And we're completely doing financials, kind of like sustainability wrong.
Yeah, it's been in place for a long time. We feel like we can't change these things.
But why not?
Yeah.
So this is, and when I worked, so I ran a transformation office for an organisation, and when I was in the public sector in health. So we overlooked all of the ICT for health, all of the actual recruitment.
What is ICT?
Information, communications, and technology.
Oh.
So all the gadgets and everything that the applications, the hardware, the software, the infrastructure, everything, right? So when I was looking at that and I was in that job role, my whole purpose within that job role was to challenge the status quo. So it was getting people's original thought process when they came in and said, we need to do this, but our barriers is like the school system or the education, the way that we're actually taught, where I was going, well, that's just 4 brick walls. Why does it even, why does that need to be why do you need to try and fit the solution in that box if it's never been within that box? So then all of a sudden you try to shift people's mindsets, and that's where innovation comes through. Because innovation, at its heart, is disruptive. It's
That's
very
right. You're
disruptive.
A paid renegade.
Paid renegade.
Yeah.
And that was like, even back in the day, the amount of people that used to say to me, they were like, you're an actual, you've not got a cause, you're going every day, but what's your cause? And I was like, I don't know yet. I don't know, but I know that I need to challenge. I know I need to question. I know I need to just not take everything on the actual basis that I'm giving it. I understand that I need to actually holistically look at all of my life and fill in those gaps. Why am I waiting for anybody else to do it? So many people turn around and go, oh, I'm not fit because they're not fit. And you're like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? We expect, or I'm not good at finances, but that my wife or my brother or my sister or my mother or my dad does it. No, that's your excuse. You're using that individual as an excuse, and they're using you as an excuse, and they're enabling you. And it's bringing that conversation to light, and it shocks people because they go, oh, am I doing that? Or I am that way. And all of a sudden, all I'm trying to accomplish is saying to people, take off the lenses that you currently have on in the way that you're looking at life right now, and realize there's a shop named Spec, And that's how many ways you can go and look at the life that you're actually viewing.
Yeah.
Go and put on any spectacle you want. You can pick fancy ones and look at it that way. You can have serious ones and look at it that way. But it's up to you what lens you actually put on life. And many people think that they're not got those lenses on and they've only got one way of looking at it, which is completely wrong.
The one they've been given.
Correct.
Not, yeah.
Inherited. Well, again,
Inherited, yes.
most of the things that we've actually got going on is a cycle. There's a pattern that is usually happens.
Oh, yeah, like the ones you're talking about, reinforcing each
Correct.
other's bad habits.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, one of my podcasts within season 1 talks exactly on that subject matter, which is breaking the cycle.
Now, I wanted to ask you specifically, that sounded like a really good topic. I was fascinated by that concept. And how early do you think that we adopt a stereotype? And is it for a sense of comfort and belonging that we maybe take a shortcut to, rather than, as you've mentioned, finding your tribe, which can be work. It's work to be who you are.
Oh, 100%. Like work. And this is the thing as well. You people, again, can name it work, right? But I name it life. At the end of the day, it's a part of your life. My day to day is simply that. It's what I'm doing every single day. Yeah. There's no Monday to Sunday. There is no 9 to 5. There is no, I need to take lunch at 12 to half 12. Though, the limitations that people have got put round them, ultimately hinder them from actually expressing any new actual thoughts or something, and giving them the availability to, or the creativity to think that they can actually survive without a specific system. But to answer your question, very early on, when you're in kind of society from the age of 0 to 8, yeah, that's where you're learning your mode. You're like, you're taking it in like a sponge. Yeah, everything that you're looking at your environment, not just the communication, how they're acting, what's actually going on.
Yeah, the people around you.
Yeah, mothers, fathers, uncles, adopts, kind of like those behaviours. A lot of stuff happens in those first 8 years, like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
External factors and internally what's going on, yeah? So those are the most crucial years in respect to children, in respect to humans, in respect to the people that lie in this earth, yeah? Because at the end of the day, that's where we all went through that.
Yeah, we have to be very aware on the effect that we have around others. We influence people in ways that we aren't always conscious of all the time.
All the time.
I have 2 young nieces, and I'm trying to be conscious of the effect I have around them, not just watching my P's and Q's, obviously, but I like to think that my role as an uncle is to be a bit sparkly. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To be not, I don't want to demonstrate that their parents are wrong. I just want to show them an alternative, so they're not being fed the same messages all the time, and it just maybe opens their mind a little bit.
Yes.
To allow them to make better choices.
Of course.
A more individualistic choice. Otherwise, we just become our parents.
Correct.
I became my mother when I was 16. I'm quite happy for that. She's a lovely lady, and we have lots of fun. So you've taken a direction where you've intentionally tried to set yourself apart from the people who raised you, in a way. Is that right?
Yes, 100%. I think my greatest lesson in life was being able to really understand that every action within life, there is another, is duality. There's a negative, then there's a positive. My uncle recently died at 54, just got told the other day there, right? To most people, he was an absolute nutter, complete. That's what he was branded as, right? And, death threats, this, that, the next thing. And that's the way everybody saw my Uncle Michael. Yeah? Okay. The way that I saw my Uncle Michael was that he was a very scared man. He was terrified of life. The trust that was broken within him when he was a child basically catapulted him into a reality where he felt he could not trust anyone.
Yeah, and what you need in that situation, I think, is someone to tell you that happened through no fault of your own.
None.
And it doesn't need to shape you.
No.
Yeah. But you need permission to do that, or at least
But look at the most important bit here, right? Is that when I mean everybody branded my Uncle Michael like that, I'm even talking about the brothers, the sisters, the mothers.
Right.
They actually went through that and knew exactly what had happened at that actual stage. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. However, rather than being able to stand there in the times that I had with the conversations with my Uncle Michael, I got through to him. You could see that he was a scared little boy. And like, you know, but I was the first person to actually probably transport him back to that. Because most people don't want to go and get help, because why would my Uncle Michael think that he's the one that needed the help?
That's
when
a very good point.
Everything that happened to him happened to him.
Right. But that's it. The way that things that happen in our lives affect us, they only affect us. So going out looking for revenge on someone that may have perpetrated a crime against you is not necessarily healing. But confronting what effect it's had on you can be, right?
Correct. And imagine how powerful that statement is. And I'm even just challenging the actual language of going and getting help. Yeah, because that was a barrier and is a barrier for many people.
Right, it implies weakness.
It implies, you know, like, exactly, it implies, like, I remember the times when, you know, and I mean, like, I've lived my life very extravagantly. Yeah, I went to when we first landed here, if you've not already noticed, my accent is not from here.
Yeah, never lose that. It's amazing.
It's this has been Perthanized. Thank you very much. I've been practicing my whole life, so this is on point right now. But when we landed here, my wife said to me, "Where do you want to live?" And I said, "I haven't got a clue. I've never been here before in my life." I says, "Oh, let's try different places." We landed in Rollystone. And
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it was on the edge of a national forest, and then that was it. We just woke up. It was like you lived in a tree house. So for that portion of my life, to some people were looking at me and branding me as going, "Oh, Michael's went a bit crazy." God, have you seen the length of his beard? Oh, has he took you up to that room where he writes on the whiteboard all the quotes yet? No? Oh, right, okay. Watch out for that. He'll get you to quote something. So I went in this proper philosophy kind of like journey to find, like, you know, the answer realistically. And but again, I think what shapes us is the way that we want to live our life, but don't actually follow through on it as well.
Yeah,
Is that
fear.
Again, the fear kind of element. So when you link again, and this is where I like to dive down. So because if you link then again that weakness for fear and needing help, but you don't trust anybody. You know, these are all underlying things
And connected.
Yeah. So then you have to then, for me, figure out, well, if that's a big bit of tumbleweed and all these different things are tied together, how do you untie it together? How do you build back the trust?
Is this what you address in your episode called Breaking the Cycle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's to get people to think about it on that level, right? Because all of a sudden I noticed you've put on a different lens in respect to that, going, oh, actually, yeah, he did need help. You know, why wouldn't anybody else see that? But they forget because of the all the other events that have happened in between that, and he's been branded a new story. So breaking the cycle, he's got 3 kids that are male and 1 child that's female. Yeah? And if you could just imagine not even trusting your own daughters or sons, or your dad's not trusting you. Yeah? Mother died of a drug overdose when you were very young. And it was, to what other people looked at, not really a great life. But those kids had a fantastic life because they would listen to their uncle and to just explore and open up their thought process in respect to how they actually shape their lives as well. So what we've done there is we've broken a cycle.
And I think part of that is learning the difficult art of acceptance, right? Now, something tragic like that happening in your life, you lose your mother, and in such circumstances, tragic. But if you can take that, twist it a little on its head and be informed by it, people who go through tragedy, let's call it that, they can often come out the other side more empathetic, right?
Yeah. So I think what I've done is that I've got 2 children, beautiful children. Aria Sunshine, who's my daughter.
That's such a sweet name.
Isn't it? And the reason I called her that is because her dad's, my father-in-law's, my wife is the sunshine. So he always used to sing to her, "You are my sunshine." So I was like, well, she's the little a ray of sunshine off of you, a little solar flare. So she, like, you know, and then my son, Atlas, Leon, so that he grows up to realise that he doesn't need to bear the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Okay, not an Ayn Rand reference.
No.
No, okay.
No. But what I'm trying to showcase here is, like, look at how you can mould the young in respect to. So what I try to do with life is say, the biggest secret. Do you want to know the biggest secret in life?
I do,
I do
desperately.
too.
Yes,
Yep.
please.
Do you want to hear it? Are you ready? The biggest secret in life is that no one, and I mean no one, has got a clue what's going on. No
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
It's everybody's best efforts with the information that they've got to what they're doing, and they've been brought into it. They've landed in it. They're just going, ugh.
Right, yeah,
I'm
and
here.
then learning to forgive your parents for the mistakes that they've made because they didn't know what was going on.
Haven't got a
know.
clue.
No.
And then what's really interesting is you then look back at your grandparents. Well, I did anyway.
Yeah.
And then I
been on
went,
that.
oh, and then I looked back to my other ones, and I looked back to my other one, and then I dated them all back to 404 AD, right? My whole
Right.
family. And you're going, like, that's a rough gig. You know, like when you look back, and then how can you blame anybody for anything that they actually went through? Or just tried the best as they could where they actually landed in life.
Yeah, people are unpredictable as much as in a group they can be very predictable.
Yeah.
But life throws things at you.
Things at you, right?
Yeah.
And if you're taking a moment in time and holding on to that with a reaction that is sparking an emotion of negativity, and you harbour that to your mother, you're losing a lot of time. You're losing a lot of love. You're losing a lot of respect, because if you're not able to control, because what you're doing is manipulating emotions right now, and you're seeing it from one lens and not being able to take in duality. Like, you know, many kids look at their parents and think they did that, but why they did it was wrong. But I guarantee their parents only tried to do it coming from a place of love.
Yeah. And keeping that in mind is, it's dialectical, isn't it? It's knowing that they were trying to do their best, even though they may have faltered.
Effed up.
Yeah.
Completely effed up,
Yeah.
some of them. You know what I mean? And still completely effing up.
Right, because I suppose it's acknowledging that we are all, in some ways, weak. Humans,
Well, you land on this planet and we need help straight away.
Yeah.
What other animal, like, you know, every other animal's like, oh, you go get on with it.
Yeah, they've got
Yeah,
instincts.
they're like, oh,
Whereas
we're
we
like that.
fight against ours. Yeah.
Yeah, right, my bum. Yeah. I need milk or maybe water. Yeah.
So seeking help then.
yeah.
Not help. How do you couch it again?
So it's not even seeking help, right? And the people that I'm trying to reach out to.
Connection, maybe.
But it's just, again, it's like I'm trying to just connect to you to say, look how much conversation can be had
Yep.
about it, and just to have that kind of like step back, and, you know, if you can deal with yourself, you can get yourself sorted, you help everybody else by just showing them how it's done. Big game of life. That's it. And I've just figured out how to actually just completely live it rather than not live it. And there was hard truths within it, as you said, hard truths you had to swallow. I've looked at myself in the mirror many of a time, right in the whites of my eyes, and cried and told myself off, and being there and saying, "What are you doing? What are you actually doing?" Yeah, and I've got a big tattoo on the back end of my leg that says "leaving everything behind," because I had to also swallow the pill as well that it's always going to be a part of me.
Yep.
I done some things that were epic, wild. Back in my day, I was basically a total legend. Then I became a myth, right? So therefore, at the end of the day, when I realised about the whole kind of like that lifestyle, it was great. But then also done quite a lot of other things that most people would say that I was a
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So therefore, at the end of the day, and that was primarily the environment that I was in, things that I was able to control. Yeah. So when I swallowed the pill, oh, woe is me, I'm to blame, this is their fault, I'm my mother and blah, blah, blah. No, I went, no, you're here because of that. And at the end of the day, if you don't want that, then change it and get yourself sorted.
Yeah.
Stop messing about now. And that's what I done. I stepped back into it, slapped it on the back end of my leg, and I never let it get in front of me because I'd just be going round and round in circles. And I'm just going, right, where am I right now? What's the environment that I'm in? Where do I want to go? What do I want to actually have in my life? And that's just a purpose, a passion, something that it just drives me. And that's what I'm doing. And everybody else can do it as well. Just choose what you want to actually do and just go for it.
Yeah.
So that's the message. So it's not even a case of go and get help. It's just sort yourself out, mate. Like, you know what I mean? Or sort yourself out and actually have a plan and realise that once you've got that plan, there's plenty of people then able to kind of like, you know, applaud you. Not even help you, just applaud you is even nice. Just somebody else going, well done. That's massive. You've knocked that out the park.
Yeah, gold star, have an elephant stamp.
Yeah, great. And that's what I try to actually tell people, because again, when I'm looking at what's actually available and already out there in an analytical way, it's obviously not working because it's already out there and they're doing everything that they're actually doing right now, but we're sitting at the targets and the figures that we're actually sitting at, and it's going up. Yeah.
What's going up?
The figures of mental health and suicide and everything else in that genre. You know, everything. In fact, before COVID, the WHO
Yes.
estimated by 2030 that mental health was going to be our biggest financial burden on the health system. And that was pre-COVID.
And we all know how that's
It spiked.
driven it.
Well, it spiked the actual charts. In fact, to be honest with you, 1 week, and it was 1 week or two, I think it was one, in Glasgow, in Scotland, suicide was the number one cause of death.
Really?
Wow.
The number, like, I think COVID was like, meh, way down in the list. Suicide was the number one cause of death for 1 week back in Scotland.
That's
massive.
horrible.
Horrible. Because people die every day. That's the other thing that we need to get over, right? 3 million people usually go every single year. Yeah? Mm-hmm. They come, they go. That's life. Unfortunately, for some, they're taken earlier. For others, they're taken much later. But we've got an average age, and the average age is X. You know, it's like, I think over here it's in the 80s. You know, we're getting it older and older, which is another problem itself. So if you want to solve that problem, MD, you know, we've got plenty of problems to actually solve within the world. So I think that when we harbour onto depression so much, it kind of like almost gives it a life for me. It almost gives it something that you can actually just safely stay within, and you don't need to get up, and you don't need to, or it's going to be dragged on for like 6 weeks or 12 years or this or that.
The comfort of something familiar, even if it's negative,
It's addictive.
Yeah.
It's an actual addiction.
People are pain.
Totally pain.
Yeah.
Complete pain. You need a burning platform for any true change. And that, in fact, we nicely dovetailed back into one of my quotes that I had published whilst up at Rolling Stone. And it was, change can only be accomplished if one actually changes.
Yep.
Like, you can't do things differently. Because many people think they'll do something differently and they'll change. And then they go, that's rubbish. That thing didn't work. And they drop the thing.
Yeah.
But you're going, well, you just did something differently. You didn't actually change.
Yeah.
So if you've got an idea, an epiphany, or, you know, something at that grand scale. When's the last time you had an epiphany? Let me ask you. Go.
I had one in our show.
Did you?
Yes.
What was it?
It was that if you get to play an old song, I get to play a new song.
Does that count?
What was it again? What was it?
If he gets to play one old song
in
our show, that way behind both of us.
Yeah.
So I get to play a brand new spanking song that is in front of all of us. Yeah.
I'm a spiritual child of the 70s.
So that is an epiphany to you. And now what happens is you put it into a process. And basically it becomes a part of your daily habit.
Yep.
So congratulations on voicing your epiphany. Then you come to a mutual agreement with people, and it just gets added into life.
Exactly.
I'm very much big in process, so off to the side.
You're very analytical.
Very analytical.
Very pragmatic approach to making things happen. And yet you also use language like holistic.
Yeah.
It's very large and abstract, and yet at the same time you've got this plan for how it's possible. Whereas I suppose a lot of people get overwhelmed by the idea.
A lot of people get overwhelmed by me. Yes, that's correct. A lot of people get by me. Yes, get overwhelmed because I'm like this 24/7. Yeah, this is not me just coming in and speaking to you like on a show. I'd be doing the exact same thing if I had an opportunity with someone at a bus stop.
I was about to say bus stop,
right? So I would have the exact same conversations with anybody that I'm in contact with. So it can be overwhelming when you don't have a plan, right? So I found that out as well because people can live in clouds and fairy dust, and people go, "Oh, you're very optimistic about what you can do or how you can help." I'm going, well, yeah. Yeah, why wouldn't I have a benefit of a realization that didn't make sense? And I understand that there's issues and there's risks. I've went through them. I've looked at them. I've looked at their likelihoods. I've put in mitigations for some and deregistered them down. And to get anybody on board to get something that you want to actually get to and accomplish, you have to have an ability to be able to show tangibly that you're getting there. So as I mentioned earlier with the satellites, that's my benefit realization plan. I'll just hook it up to getting that data. And if we're doing the right things collectively at that mindset, then we'll notice a shift in the change. It worked negatively, so why wouldn't it work positively? So let's actually research and development that as well. So then you've got R&D in it. Then you turn around and you're innovating. So there has to be a program of delivery in respect to being able to change something. And that execution, is easy. Anybody can execute because it's just the same things that you're actually looking at. You're going, how much this going to cost? And it's like, oh, a whole lot of money. A whole lot of money. And you're like, how much time's this going to take? And they're like, oh, so much precious time. So all the time. And you just calculate up, am I willing to actually sacrifice all my time, all my money, for the benefit, for the realization that I believe that I've got sorted out to a problem that I've turned into an opportunity? Hell yeah. Hell yes. So that then gives confidence to the others, not just within the because what I'm showing right now is I've got the ability to dream, and I've got the ability to actually construct something that basically sounds like a good idea. But then I've actually so that's solo me, solo, all alone, thinking about that. Then the help is the people that are going to actually come in and help me with the money and help me with the time and help me with everything that I'm actually wanting to do. And I understand that the help is needed because the podcast has been such a success with season 1. I've never had a day that nobody's been listening. We've had a constant stream of listeners throughout it, and Breaking the Cycle actually was our most popular. So season 2, what I noticed from that was I was able to speak to authors that basically had published and went out their way of these experiences. So then all these publishers started sending me their books, and then everybody that works for me, they get to read all the books because I'm saying this is knowledge, take it all in. And all these people that are working for me are coming on board with me, basically understand the pain because they've either been there themselves or they have people that they're actually currently going through that pain. And as I say, is my direct kind of person that I would love to work with is the person that is there to actually help. Because the reason it goes on so long is that individuals that are maybe close to a person that's going through something don't know what to do and don't know what to say. Right. They almost treat it like homelessness. They just blank it off and just kind of go over there. So I'm kind of looking at that individual saying, right, I'm going to teach you what to say. And I'm going to teach you how to look into yourself. And I'm going to teach you how to actually just take stock of your emotions, understand what that meant, looking at every situation in duality. What was the takeaway? What was the lesson learned? What was the feeling? Why did it make, and process it properly? I'm not only building that person up internally, but I'm also giving them the soft skills and also some hard skills as well to actually be able to reach out and talk to anybody the same way that I can talk to anybody. And the amount of people that I've spoken to and it's changed their lives, I can't count up. I can't count anymore. I just know that it does. So therefore, this is why I constantly do it.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep, that's awesome. Now, the one last thing that I wanted to tell you or talk to you about is your show is effing depressing.
.com.
.com. Why isn't it effing depressed? Is there a reason there's no ED?
Yeah, because as I said before, I don't want to be concentrating in the actual depressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what it's like. I don't want to concentrate on it. I don't want to even be there. Who wants to be there? The reason that it's the ing is because I'm kind of looking and getting people to step back and looking at the environments that they're in and how that is you're not in it, so you're not depressed, but it is depressing. So therefore you might not actively be in the numerous wars that are going round the world right now and causing absolute havoc on everybody.
There's
always something happening.
Yeah.
Not just the people from there, but also the people from there, and the people from there, and the people from there, and the people from there. But look at that, because already this might have sparked an emotion in people because they go, oh, I'm only interested in these people over here. And you're like, oh, why though? Why are you only interested in those people over there? So it doesn't, that this happens in society. So what I'm trying to actually get to say to people is that you might not be directly involved in the war at this end of the earth, but you're kind of involved in the war on this end of the earth, and you're ultimately looking at the other parties that are a part of that and seeing your own children or your own self within it. So you've got a little bit of a connection, but not really. Yeah.
Well, a basic human connection.
Basic human, but this is great pickup, right? A basic human connection. People just need to learn to fling that much broader around Earth. Yeah. So it's not just a case of going, oh, you're over here and you're with me and I'm, you're like me and I like that. Because again, we're in the same room and, you're playing the same game. So again, younger, I kind of almost thought, oh, you're better than me. You're not weak. Where if you look at someone else in the world, I'm just saying, put it over it because it's all depressing. So when you make that conclusion in life, if you really focus on everything that's actually going on, I wouldn't even want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Because I'd be depressed.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, as a youth, you could probably list 10 things that you're anxious about right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to go into it, but yeah.
But why not?
Why not? Oh.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Tell us. What are you anxious about right now?
School, apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Yeah, finish it, yeah.
That's big decisions.
Yeah.
How old are you?
15.
Yeah, massive decisions.
Yeah.
Right, there's the environment, there's cost of living, there's all
work, yeah.
Yeah, right.
My father told me back in the day when he says when it was all that age group and you had to pick what you wanted to do in life.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's like, what do you want to be? And I'm like, oh no. Like, because you were totally, I was anxious. It was a very anxious time. They're like, no, but you have to pick now. And you're like, no.
Such a mistake, isn't it?
Such a mistake. And my father turned around to me and says, they're asking you the wrong question. What do you mean? He says, no, I'll sack that off. It's like, what do you want to be known for? Step back from that. It's like, so all of a sudden, I just went, played it off. It was like, I couldn't care less. I'd done everything. I was like, I'd done music, I'd done at computer. None of my things that I picked matched up. They went, Michael, none of these are matching to a job that's technically, available to you right now. And I was like, I don't care. I don't actually care. I want to do that. 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 And I want to do that. And to give a child that empowerment to basically turn around and say, don't need to worry about it, pal. You really don't need to worry about it, right? It is like jobs. I think like 40% of the jobs that exist now didn't even exist when I was young. Yeah. And half the jobs that existed when I was young are no longer here. So it's like, it's like, don't pigeonhole, and even like that, it's like that anxiousness. We try to kind of like eliminate that again by turning around and going, The amount of people that at your age, a bit older, probably 19, 20, that I tell the biggest secret to, that nobody's got a clue what's going on, the amount of people that turn around and go, oh, thank God for that. I thought it was only me. Oh, thank God. And I'm like, no, your mum and dad's like walking about the house, internally actually saying to themselves, in their head, and looking at you, and they're like, what's up? And you're like,
Nothing.
Nothing.
How are you?
Fine.
I'm good.
Yep. And that's the conversation. It's that bit that you want it. So, and calling somebody out on their anxiousness isn't a great thing, but it's not a bad thing either. That's the difference. And it's, again, I'm wanting to give everybody, there's polar opposites in the way people think. So some listeners would go, that's shocking. And other listeners go, that was absolutely exciting. I love that. But remember, it's intent. Right? It's not, don't get hung up on what side you're on. It's, again, back to what my father was saying. It's like, what do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
And if you live by those values, those morals and those beliefs, and you make those tangible things, life's unstoppable, my friend.
Yeah, that's perfect.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much for coming into our show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to speak to either of you anytime. And yeah, loved it. Thank you.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Us too. So we are wrapping up right now. We have got things to do, places to be, people to, I guess, open up to.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. I feel a little bit inspired and a bit energized. You're like a human latte, aren't you?
A human latte.
Wonderful.
I love it.
A human espresso martini.
Oh, as long as there's some honey in there.
Oh, good tip. I need to do that. Yeah, the ones I had last night were a bit average. So I won't say who did them. Yes, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. We hope to hear a bit more from you. Go and check out the podcast. It's called, effing, but the real word, depressing, ing.org.
.com.
So sorry, I'm used to
okay.
.com. There we go.
God, Ali, get it right.
And everyone else around the country, be good to yourselves, be kind, and maybe go and ask some questions about what you're being fed and the truths that you may need to observe. We're going to go out now. It's because I haven't done my...
You haven't done your old song yet, have you?
Well, I haven't done my old song, and I haven't done my cover for the day, my cover version.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that on now. And say good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. You've been listening to Jack and Ali on Saturday morning on IPL Radio. Have a good day.
Awesome. See you guys.